Good afternoon, Foothills County. Welcome to the February 10th Foothills Regional Airport Board meeting. I'll call it to order at 10:08 and look for an adoption of the agenda. Anything to add or changes?
I've just got some things that I'll need to add to the budget. Couple items in the capital expenditures portion, and that will be runway light resurfacing and fire water infrastructure.
So would that be a sub of 8.1 or would it be a?
Yeah, it'll be a sub of 8.1.
Okay. 1A and 1AB, or we can, anyways, we'll get to that. So with those additions, look for a motion to approve the agenda. Dennis gives us that. All in favor? Motion carried. And Reed Miller is online, just so everybody knows. So we do have here. We had a meeting January 30th. It was a special board meeting to review the temporary airport manager, to extend the temporary agreement with the airport board manager. So look to a motion to approve the agenda from the January 20th special meeting. If everybody's had a look at it and no comments. Look for a motion. Oh, sorry.
No, you said emotion.
Emotion. Thank you.
Glad they're happy.
All right. Richard gives us that motion. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving along, we will move to item number 6.1. If there are any comments in terms of the financial report, Manager Joshi.
No, we'll be having our planned review of the 2024 December statements by Avail auditors, and they're going to start in March, and we'll bring the report to the board in April, tentatively April 16th for now.
Great. May I inquire, has there been, I've been asked this several times, has there been a proposed rate change at this point? And if so, on the leases, do you recall what it might be?
So I don't know if it was brought before, but there has been a modest increase of 2% in the lease. So we have moved to from previously 0.266 per square feet to 0.271 per square feet now.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Thank you very much. Item number 7.1, airport manager update summary. Mr. Fox.
As of December 1, I guess that's when I took over, we called in Gateworks to repair 4 gates. So we got them all working, got them all set on the same time to open 6:30, close at 10:30. And beyond that, after that, middle of December, we had issues with the terminal building furnace that quit. Well, it didn't quit, it just wouldn't operate enough to keep the place warm. So after 3 service calls, by the middle of January, it was finally repaired, and it's working fine now. We contacted primary engineering to see about, we have a electric pole with a broken guide wire. We called them to get a quote to fix it, and after their $7,000 quote, Jeff and I decided, he suggested that if we could wait till spring, then the county could plant a new anchor and we could repair that without calling in the big guns. Beyond that, a couple issues with the plow truck, but it's functioning. It needs to go back in for more service, needs a new hand control, and which is, I think it's arrived now, and also needs new blades, which they have on hand. So I'll try and get that in this week if they can. I'll try and ask them to get it in this week, get it fixed up. Other than that, everything's running as it should, I guess. no issues. I've had an inquiry from a guy that would like to start a business out there of doing aircraft detailing and internal and external shining of paint sort of thing. Air Shine is his company. So he'd like to put a sign on our big sign there. He's gonna give me more details. But he'd like to be able to post a sign, and he's looking for a place to operate out of, either rent and long term. He'd like to have his own location there, permanent location.
Would that be the gentleman named Wyatt by any chance?
Yeah, Wyatt Canal. Do you know him?
I actually he started that enterprise up about a year ago.
Yeah.
And did the first thing that you should do. You phoned everyone that you know and asked them if they need a shine.
Yeah.
I've referred him to some customers, and they're very pleased with his work. But his restriction is physical plant. Like he
needs somewhere to operate on.
needs somewhere, and people will come to him as opposed to him
Yeah.
going there. So it seems to be a viable enterprise, and it would be sort of consistent with airport use.
Mhm.
Might have a suggestion for him. I'll find,
Location. Okay,
I can let you know. Dennis.
sure.
He would be a good addition
Yeah.
to the community there.
Good to hear. Any further questions for Dennis?
I guess the only other thing, I was out there talking with Dennis, and he'd noticed that the roof is leaking in the pilot's lounge, and he had gone up top
right.
and taken some pictures. And where it's a rubberized roof, it looks like, and where the seams are, they've delaminated and are curled back. So we've got, what would you say, 3-inch gap between?
2 to 3 inch gap in multiple places on the roof. That's several feet long. Sort of
Yeah.
part way across. So yeah, roofs
Need some work.
is in bad shape. Yeah.
But I think there's some tape that you can use for RV rubber roofs that is rubberized membrane with a real, almost like a glue on the back of it. And I think that's probably the best interim fix for now for it. The wind's not going to tear it off or anything like that. So I think when the weather warms up enough to be able to utilize that, we'll get up there.
There was a big sag in the deck. When the deck was built, I don't think anyone imagined there being 50 people at a barbecue on it. Is that still sagging, or?
No, it's been repaired.
My staff fixed it.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, okay.
The only other, I forgot, we put up a new windsock on the east end of the runway, and we put up 3 new flags also. With Jeff's help, he brought the man lift up, and on a very cold, windy day, I was up there
I think Dennis is still blowing out.
hanging out a new windsock.
And the operators at the airport are most appreciative. They're in shock that they have a functioning windsock. But would there be any merit? I mean, these gates are just an ongoing problem. Is there any value in controlling access to the airport with just two gates, or does that keep it out of the public domain then when you have to have a code to get in?
I guess there's a few things in that. When we've got the ambulance, the medevac flights coming and stuff, they even have a hard time. I guess they had trouble the last time they were out. It was new staff in the ambulance or whatever, and didn't know how to get through the gates. So, but yeah, it seems to be they're either getting run into or have never been fixed properly or what. You probably know better than anybody, Dennis.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a case. I mean, a couple of them needed new batteries, one of them on airport close, wires were connected wrong. So I don't think when the wires, it was disconnected when all that work was done on the parking area. And there's a panel over there where the power was sourced from and all that. Well, I don't know, somebody didn't connect the wires properly or something, so it was totally non-functional. So once they figured that out, and I think there was a component also that was needed replacing in that one, but The other one's just a case of, needed batteries and needed the timer reset and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think they need to be problematic if they're, maybe, I would hope that once a year we do a service call and they check them all out and good for the rest of the year. They work, everybody's got automatic gates that work. So we should be able to too.
Sounds like you've got it well under control, so thank you for that. Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments before I look for a motion to receive the airport manager report for information? Not seeing any of it?
I have one more inquiry. There is, have you received any contacts from people looking for lots?
I have had a couple of inquiries, mostly guys call looking for space, hangar rent, somewhere to rent. And then we get on to the topic of, we've got lots available if you're interested, that sort of thing. So I haven't had anybody come back with a serious inquiry about, serious about, building.
Thank you.
I can update on that
Yeah.
too. So I had in the fall, I had one serious inquiry about commercial lot, but that just died out for some reason. The other instances, I've had 3 in the last couple of weeks inquiries into lots. Okotoks, I guess,
Yes.
is closing. So
Again,
yeah,
finally.
so there's individuals that have contacted me. I text them back because I was off last week to say I'll get back to you this week. So yeah, that's what we've had for inquiries so far.
If I could comment on that, I received calls from folks who said, we hear that there's no more development allowed. And I said, let's delineate between the lots that are available and then future development. So we have lots that are still available. And those don't need development except what you would add to them in terms of a building. So we have a property available right now. Future lots, once we sell or lease all of the existing ones, then future development will be contingent on fire concerns and that, but for the time being. So there's a little bit of a misinterpretation out there as to availability.
Did you happen to find out where they got that information, or
Just, the usual we've heard or they say. The old we've heard or they say.
yeah,
Well, they say that there's no more development out there. Well, that's true. There's no development additional right now, but there are lots available for you to develop them.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
We're still reeling a little bit on the Vulcan comparisons.
yeah, yeah.
That's,
There is no comparison. Their lot pricing is like basically nothing in that, but I mean, they don't have the same amenities as we have either, so it's.
they do have the Star Trek museum though.
If you're into that.
Yeah.
They've had space travel and we can't even get lights.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Spock, would you be prepared to give a motion to receive the airport manager's report?
Yes, Justin.
Thank you. Dennis gives us that, Trista, and any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor? Motion is carried.
It's like this.
Yeah, sorry. New business, item number 8.1, 2025 budget approval. Manager Joshi, I guess you're on deck for that.
This should be fun.
Yes. So, perfect. All right. If everyone can see the budget there. We have the first column is for all our accounts, so we don't really need to worry about those. So going from column B, the revenues, we have our 2024 budget. Column C, we also have the 2024 actuals, which is based on unaudited and unreviewed figures. So those might change, but they just help us kind of do a little bit of comparison. And then the last column E is the 2025 budget that we are requesting for approval. So for lease revenue, we have a modest increase of about 2%. So as mentioned before, we will have and the new rate of increase would be 0.27 per square feet. And for our ramp parking fees, I think we will probably request an adjustment. Just looking at these figures closely, recently we realized that we have about 10 spots that are using ramp parking fees at about 150 per month. It should probably be about 18,000. So we underestimated there a bit. Looking because when we were preparing this, we didn't have the final figures from 2024. Then we don't have any more grant. This was a $1,000 grant that the Foothills County gave to the airport every year. So assuming if we are going to be absorbing in the future in 2025, we thought it wouldn't make sense to have that grant also offered there. The transfer fee as one grant, just keeping it consistent with last year. We didn't have anything, but there have been some talks about potential. So we're going to keep it at 1,000. Interest revenue, again, that's very dependent on market. Obviously, last year we did have higher interest rates, but we do expect due to constant economic changes right now that interest rate will be going down. So we're underestimating that revenue at 2,000 compared to 6,000 in the previous year. Again, hay sales, we didn't have any last year, but we are hoping if we continue with those same building relationships in the community, we're going to keep at 3,000 as being consistent. Miscellaneous revenue, this is all other revenue, and a lot of that is just dependent on various items. So to keep it conservative, we reduced that to $1,000 this year compared to 2024. And the new lot sales, we still are hoping, as there have been discussions and interest. So we're keeping at 15,000. There wasn't any new lot sales last year, but trying to be consistent there and hoping for that sales, then that could be estimating at about $15,000. Moving on to donations. So expenses, sorry. The donations. Basically, we did have a bit of a higher increase in donations. These are given donations to Air Cadets and for their services. So rather than when they do cleanup and everything, we provide them a donation grant. So there was a bit higher this year, as you can see. So we ended up increasing that at $3,850. The airport manager, kind of consistent with previous year as well. Audit expense, we did increase this because we are now going with a more professional auditors who also audit all of our other entities related to Foothills County. So their expenses are a little bit higher. So increase that to $4,500. Administration fees, keeping this consistent with last year. Legal expense, again, that's very dependent. So as you can see, we didn't really have much last year, but we are assuming there'll be more changes and transfer this year within the airport. So we're keeping it at 4,000 rather than reducing that.
Good question. Do you want questions after or during?
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yes.
On legal, $529. So
Yes.
with the change in bringing it into Foothills County, etc., is that something that some of the work is taking place in 2024, with the billings take place in 2025?
Yes.
Because we were getting hell of a deal if that was the, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so that is actually only for the annual filing and corporate return that legal kind of reviewed for us. So that was only the fee, yes.
May I take you back to the income side, please?
Yes.
So the 15,000, is there a specific activity that you've tied that to? Because we have when a new lot is leased, there is a a considerable payment required from the individual to assume that lease. Is that's representing?
No, it is, this is just a loan for the sale of the lot, like the actual, the work they will need to develop that. So that's just a loan for that. So otherwise, any lease revenue, anything they would pay just like on an ongoing basis, that would be recognized under lease revenue. But so basically the initial upfront cost that they're paying us, that's what the new lot sales would be.
So like the application fee and that sort of thing.
Okay, so the application fee is $1,000. The performance bond is 5,000, which is refundable. The biggest single element that I could see associated there would be the upfront payment for the upgrades to the lot to make it leasable. Is that what this is? Because I think for one lot, like when I did my last lot, it was around 21,000 for the single lot, and I know that the existing lots, which previously were in service but now have been serviced, I think our charges associated are a little higher, Jeff, or if I'm thinking.
I believe so, and that on the new electrical and that was put into those lots. They're smaller lots though. And so also when you developed, you believe this 4,500 came back to you.
Yes.
You paid up front and then 4,500 came back to you. So basically this kind of represents the sale of one lot.
Oh, so that would be the leasing then paying for the upgrades to make it usable. That's what that 15,000 is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a specific price for each lot out there, depending on the size, you know?
Yep.
Is it all identified what it actually?
Yep. Yeah, I have a list and that of the lots and that. So the P30 through 35, if I remember right, are smaller lots. And then we do have a few larger lots still available. But yeah, the smallest lots are the bulk. So those are the ones that run from the Higher Rare Cadets hangar to the south of it, along that taxiway.
Lancaster Way.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for not minding the interruption.
No,
Please
sorry.
continue.
I wasn't sure. Like, so yeah, I should have said that. Like, yeah, please feel free to. So again, last year for fuel, we had about 3,000 and we ended up not really spending it all. So to be on the same estimate, we put at 3,000. There was no courier and postage. I feel that we just have put aside $100 in case, but we are encouraging, like, we are paying all our vendors by EFTs, and most of our customers also pay us by e-transfer. So there's very little courier and postage that really now happens, and most of our vendors also invoice us electronically. We do have a separate airport email address, so kind of kept easier to access. And so this is probably not going to be spent, but yeah, just $100 extra for there. Insurance, we have estimated a bit higher this year at 6,200 because of we noticed that there has been an increase in our insurance costs for other entities and for the RMA. So we do expect it to go up. As we can see, even this year it was higher than we had projected. So again, those assessments are done by RMA every year. So it's almost, we took an average of what we had budgeted last year versus what we had spent to come up with 6,200. Bank and service charges, we spent a bit less than we had projected in 2024. So we did reduce that a little bit to $400 this year. The interest expense, we had no budget. So this is something that was just in the transition between the Higher Airport to Foothills Regional Airport. So there were certain charges. So that's why we don't expect that to be an ongoing issue. Again, office supplies, we are moving a lot more electronic. So we do expect this to be a lot less because previously when we had the bookkeeper, they would print everything and provide that to us, and all those office supplies they would bill for us. But we do expect this to be lower now. And then same thing with just supplies in general. We didn't really spend that much last year, so we decreased this a little bit to 1,000 from 1,500. Software expense. Our IT does want to do some upgrades, and if we're going to do them in other entities, we hope to do them for airport too. So being on the cautious side, we are budgeting $1,000 for that. Licenses, similarly, any licensing fees and such. Dues and membership, we haven't received any advice of whether those will be increasing, so budgeting the same. Utilities, these have been slightly higher in this year, but we are expecting to be on the conservative side, not for them not to be that high this year. Obviously, if these do rise, we will bring that back to the board and advise that this could go into the higher in the future. Property taxes, miscellaneous, about $1,000. Again, web design expense, I've kept it consistent at 3,000, similar to previous year. Equipment rental, for snow removal and grass cutting, I did have a discussion with Jeff, and we might want to change that.
Yeah, we'll probably be looking at upping that number, whether it's done by a contractor or if it's absorbed within the county. And we have county staff do it, there'll still be a dollar amount that'll be allocated to the airport for those services.
So would you suggest that that's kind of the big stuff, I'll call it, and then some of the fine tuning around the runways and all that would be a consideration of an airport manager, for example?
We'll just have to see in regards to what's taking place at the airport this year, because the airport may be shut down for a considerable length of time for the work that's going on for it to happen safely. So this year will be an anomaly, and then after that, we'll have to take a look and see what we're going to do as far as maintenance and who will be required to do what and when.
So could you say then this is almost an evaluation year with the potential airport closure, but there still will be some work required. We kind of analyze and get a pretty good feel for future.
Yeah, it'll give us, obviously with mowing grass or Mother Nature's mercy, if it's a dry year, there won't be much cutting. If it's a wet year, then obviously but it'll give us a better idea of how many times a year for cutting. We definitely won't be keeping it like a golf course, but we certainly won't be allowing it to get over 8 inches to a foot. And,
on the topic of mowing, did we not realize any hay sales this year?
We do. We haven't had it paid to us yet.
Okay, so it's not accrued because it's
Didn't show up in 24. It'll show up in 25.
Yeah, at some point, like by the end of February, we do have to close 2024. We can't keep it open because we need to get everything ready for the auditors. Yeah.
Is that receivable fairly?
It'll be around that 3,000 range. Hay was so this year, so.
And here Rob was projecting 9, so this is great.
Yeah, well, we'll see, and that it certainly wasn't a bumper crop, but there was something.
Is he? I think he's going to farm that for a couple of years, isn't he?
I'm not sure. I've got to talk to him and see what's going on. Whatever.
I know it needed to be worked up to rejuvenate the hay, but I guess not that it matters. It's a small item.
Yeah.
Gophers like.
All right. Please continue.
So, do you want to maybe change this to some other amount for the snow removal, grass cutting? Do you want to keep it at 8,000 or?
I think we're going to be probably well over that. Probably in the neighborhood of both. That's the thing. We don't know what's going to be happening with the snow removal going forward. And that's definitely for next year. We may be having to hire a contractor for one-offs for the rest of this year. So if we have to have snow removal and we're doing mowing, I'd say that number probably goes up to around probably 20,000.
May I ask, is the fact that it is an internal accounting mechanism, is this for cost accounting purposes strictly to?
Yes, yeah, like
And
even though
allocation.
technically, I mean, the work is being done by the county for the airport, until the airport is still a separate entity legally, we need to still like bill for things
Gotcha.
similar to administration fee, because like airport doesn't have any employees, so all the employees who do the work.
Staff is here too.
Exactly, right? Like we have to kind of keep it separate. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, like, I mean, if you're not sure, what the other suggestion I would say is we can keep it at $8,000 and we can bring an amendment to the board in the future. We can keep an eye out, and if we see, because like you said, with the airport being closed a little bit and us being an evaluation year, we can see how much that expense rises. It will give us a bit clearer picture.
Likely best to forecast bad news versus
Okay.
good news takes care of itself.
Okay.
Well, the $12,000 difference, is that an amendment? Is that just an amendment to it?
Well, that would be like if you figure out, okay, if Dennis is done at the end of February, and we have to get somebody to plow snow March, April, May, it could be $2,500 a pop. If we have to mow 6 times, 7 times this year, you're probably looking at 12,000 right there. And that for when you figure in the manpower and everything that shows up, because we take the truck, the trailer, the men, the equipment that's being used and that, so.
You mowed it once last year, the county mowed it once. Do you have a number on what was allocated cost wise for that one time?
We were there for a day and a half.
Yeah.
To mow that whole thing. We had 4 personnel there mowing and weed whacking. That one time cost about $3,000.
Right.
Well, if that's a recommendation from the pros, then we
Okay.
can continue.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so we will, so basically we'll change this. This is a draft budget, so the final budget, before it goes to the approval, we'll update that. Similarly for repairs and maintenance, if we are going to be expecting more repairs and maintenance, I think we should probably also update that from that 8,000, because as last year we did see that we had a significant higher repairs and maintenance expense of 22 grand, almost 23 grand compared to our budgeted. So it's better to be less conservative in this case here.
Quick question then, with the earlier discussion on the roof,
Yeah.
do you think that would add a significant amount?
Not if we do it.
Not a significant amount, not if we do it Jeff's method.
Okay.
But it may not be long term, but then we hopefully terminal building is not long term either.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
I guess the obvious comment there is, we built in some money for mowing and snow plowing.
Mhm.
I think some of that money can come out of the manager's fee, because you take away that work and then, you don't have to be paying that much. I don't think you have to pay that much to hire a manager. There isn't that much to do. So
Okay.
my comments.
So basically change the allocation between manager and
Yeah, I mean, I'd say if you take it, just my own opinion, you take away the mowing and the snow plowing, and then, you can probably take away half of that manager expense.
Mhm.
It's an administrative function then and not a.
Yeah,
Ideally we'd be looking at more for the manager doing that for lot sales and that sort of thing. And that would be additional to what you're doing right now and that sort of stuff, but.
yeah, there'd be more of that actual management and less operating type of job.
I can look into the repairs and maintenance with Disha. We can pull up that GL number and take a look at what was all allocated there and what makes up that 22,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my question. Yeah, what did we do? Where did we spend that money last year?
Yeah, if you just give me 1 second, I can pull that up here.
I forgot we have the accounting guru right beside.
You know, the smartest thing I ever did, I married a CPA.
Need the number?
Yes, I'm just looking at the number.
5765.
Yes, so I guess, we did the biggest portion of about $12,851 was to JetPro Consultants. That was the biggest, area repairs and maintenance. There was also some work done with, SG Engineering, and then others were more like septic services and, auto services. So those were the big three expenses that we had.
The Jet Pro Consulting, was there a breakdown? Was there the flight check fee that you can see there, or was that just for the approach redesign necessary for our new lighting? Or is it that detailed?
So I'm just pulling up their invoice here. So they billed us twice. One was for procedure maintenance, they just called that, which was about $5,093. And then the other one was for the GPS approach. For the remaining, so about 8,400 for that.
If I may speak to the first one, the 5,000, I think that bill had been sent possibly to a previous chair, and it sat as a receivable on their books for I think a year or a year and a half. Finally, they called me and they said, "Who do we send this to?" So that was actually in arrears. That it's going to pop up again in probably another year and a half or two.
There's an annual fee to maintain the GPS approach. Is that right? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's the flight check and maintenance. So per Transport Canada regulations through NAV Canada, they actually have to fly down and do a non-geodetic survey and look and say, has anything changed?
Yeah.
And then actually test fly the approaches for attestation. I know because I signed saying everything is right. So I'm very keen that everything be right.
Is this annual or is it every 2 years?
Semi-annual normally.
Every 2 years.
Yeah.
And is there just a basic fee for the annual maintenance, or is it just the flight?
Yeah.
They're
The flight
once every 2 years. Okay. Yeah. Who owns the GPS approach? Is it JetPro or do we own it ourselves? I mean, I don't understand the implications of the difference, but I just know there's 2 ways to do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's kind of intellectual property, but it's not. It's we pay for it, we get to use it. It's registered with NAV Canada, and we do own it in as much as we're responsible for its maintenance. But as an asset, it has no value. It's one of those intangibles, eh?
Yeah, it's like a database, basically.
Yes, yeah. That would be a very good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, and then to answer, they also do charges 4,000 procedure maintenance, and then 5,000 every initial flight check, and every 3 years after.
3 years, pardon me.
Yes. So I just have the contract in front of me.
So an annual 4,000.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a foot.
5,000 for every 3 years after the initial check. So we did.
Right.
They did that in 2024, and then 3 years down the line, the charges are
another 5,000.
Yes, for regulatory review.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I could, the plus to JetPro, I think their fees are sort of representative of the industry, but I kind of remind everyone that through a sleight of hand and some some personal leverage. They designed the initial approaches free. And then the upgraded approaches were actually paid for by Kanata.
Oh, yeah,
So
good.
all we really paid for is basically oil changes and tire rotations. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, like Richard, as you mentioned, if there are like invoices that maybe if anybody sends to you after the meeting, I'll send you the airport's email address. So that way you don't have to keep it in your inbox. You can just forward it to us so we can keep track of, we have a staff assigned to it and everything rather than having to worry about who to give it to. We will figure the rest out.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and so yeah, that's just finalizing. We kept our security operation expense at 1,000 just to be on the safe side. There was nothing recorded last year, nothing for roadways. Telephone, this was mostly for telephone that our previous bookkeeper charged us. So we're not like that's all part of administration fee now. So we're not really going to separate that out. Meals and mileage, just we didn't have any budget. We don't expect this to be a common occurrence, so we really didn't budget this much this year.
Might that have been the open house?
Yes,
Okay.
open house or like travel back and forth for like
Do we think we might do, like, should we put in $350 for an open house on an annual basis?
It was appreciated by the hangar owners that attended it.
Yeah.
It was,
Yes.
I think it's a good idea to do that annually or even minimum annually.
Okay.
May I suggest that there is the airport manager's cell phone? I'm not sure if that shows up.
It's a county cell phone.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So it's
Just
already,
so it's accounted for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Consulting fees, we kept it at 8,000 because if there were any debt or other consulting fees that could happen in this year or future years. And then yeah, depreciation, unless we acquire really big assets, we don't expect to have an increase in that either. And then so this is the operating budget as it's completed. We are now going to move to some of the bigger capital expenditures. Yeah, I could to help me with when those
I can take over this.
yes, how those projects are gonna go.
So, obviously, as we know, we're committed and we're in the processes of finalizing the runway lighting project. So that's going to be a 2025 project. To the tunes of 841,840.
May I ask something on that, Jeff? The fact that it's gone out to tender, are those numbers based on Andrew's initial estimates or?
Yeah, it's what our budgeted number is.
Okay.
We
Thank you.
predict or hope it's going to come in well under that, but that's what we're looking at as far as a budget number for that project.
Thank you.
So can you increase it a little bit bigger? I don't know.
There we go.
That's good. Thank you. They're just
Is that better?
slightly better.
Dr. Porter, do you have comments?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, it's not just me.
2026, we're looking potentially for the taxiway to runway 25. Estimating that 200,000. This is just basically a placeholder. It's probably going to be well north of that, I would figure, but we'll see. 2025 potentially plow truck. Again, kind of a placeholder. We're not sure where that number is going to fall or how we're going to look on doing snow plowing going into the future. If we're doing a transfer of a truck that we currently have in inventory and place a plow on it, basically it's $15,000 plow, and the truck would be just moved within departments within the county. If we choose to purchase a new truck and integrate it into the county snow plowing system, making priority one as the airport, and then after that it goes off to do other county roadways and that, or subdivisions is another option, but right now we're just placeholder of 60,000 there. For a plow truck, 2026 website phase 2, 15,000.
Is it just an airport website?
It's actually a county website that the airport links to, so we're gonna be doing some upgrades to all that. So
Seems like a big chunk of money for the airport.
it is, but when it comes into having the interactivity and that with the users and potentially being able to pay subleases through permitting fee through the website, then
Oh,
it'll make life a little easier.
What would be very popular with some owners would be the ability for a monthly plan as opposed to, annual.
Okay, those are all discussions that can take place, for sure. 2030 north-south runway rebuild, 150,000. You can probably put a 1 in front of that one.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it right now.
Because basically that whole runway would have to be torn out and rebuilt right from the start. And that would not be with the paved surface. If you wanted to pave surface on that, then you're probably looking in the neighborhood of $4.5 million to do that. Storage building for the airport assets, 2027. So that storage building would include a pilot's lounge as well as manager's office, and then heated storage for the plow truck and
It'd be a very good
other
idea.
assets.
I don't think 120 will do it.
No,
Again, another deal.
Double that.
with a gravel floor. Main runway paving, we're looking to project that out to 2035 at $2 million, which is under, we're probably looking at $3 million to
By then, yeah.
pave that main runway and taxiways. So
Yeah.
it's going to require milling of the taxiways and then the asphalt overlay. 2025, potentially we're looking at a runway and taxiway micro resurfacing of the main runway and taxiways, $586,000. That will give us another 10 to 15 years of lifespan on that asphalt for the main runway and taxiways. So that helps us push that $4 million and that price tag out farther.
May I ask what the micro refinishing entails?
So micro resurfacing
Resurfacing,
is like tiny chips that they go in and then it's fogged over with tar. So everything's held down. It's not like the air patching that was done to the cracks before. And that's, so if they do this, the runway will be shut down for quite a while because they blow out all the cracks, fill all the cracks in, and then they go over and microsurface. If you go up to Dunbow Road and there's a real black stretch, you'll notice that's micro resurfacing, or micro surfacing.
I think the concern is the chips, right, and flying, so.
Yeah. We can only do what we can do.
Yeah.
Like we have limited choices unless we start putting a local improvement tax on the airport to the tune of $4 million. And that, I mean, $500,000 or $600,000 is a heck of a lot cheaper. And then I know some of the questions have been regarding tires, and it can, depending on how it's done or what's done, it can chew up tires, or of course the rocks with the nicking props and that sort of stuff. So there's only so many things we can do with the runway and that.
If I could ask, so the taxiway to runway 25, as you can well imagine, we haven't even finished the lighting project, and the inquiries are, when are we getting the parallel taxiway? I said, well, let's kind of do one thing at a time. any funding grant is usually contingent, as you pointed out, on a completion of the previous funding, which is responsible government. Two words that normally don't belong together, but do you think there is there a possibility for a grant?
We can give it a shot. Projected time for completion of the lighting project is August. I believe our application deadline for the community airport program through the STIP grant funding through the province was that September, October timeline. So
We would be close, but
we'd be close. I mean, we can be ready for it and fire it in. I mean, when you looked at when we found out our that we had our grant, it was, you know, we're quite a way, we're into the new year. And that's so we definitely, I think.
there was a point last year where, because of staffing concerns, that the ability to have a sort of in-house assessment of a parallel taxiway, that was sort of put off, understandably. Have we had that?
Yep.
A look, and what is the broad strokes engineering considerations there?
Probably gonna have to take out the existing soil that's there because it's not really a great base. We may be able to get away with it in some areas and that, but we'll have to rebuild up. Well, we have to build the actual subgrade in that, from where it intersects the current taxiway heading north, and then when it makes a turn and heads to the east and crosses the north-south runway, that portion there's portions of it that will have to be rebuilt, and that of the current existing subgrade or whatever it is there's a real section of really poor soil basically from that north-south runway about halfway down.
Would does the vision now include taking advantage of the existing taxiway that goes up past our commercial lots to the 1533 runway, I'll call it that? And then would it be using that, Jeff, and then doing a little deep north and then new taxiway? Or does this imagine a complete parallel taxiway sort of all the way from Taxi Alpha all the way to the holding bay?
If we can broach that after, because I'll have to go to a
Okay.
different screen to share, and I can show you kind of the general outlay of the track that we had projected to utilize. So
Thank you.
you bet. And then the other thing that may potentially be happening in 2025, which we don't have a budget number on, is fire water infrastructure for the airport. So yeah, so a few things happening.
And what do you see as a solution there?
We've added that onto the agenda, so we'll be getting to that, right?
Well,
Okay.
that was
Okay.
in here.
Pardon me.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is this is fascinating stuff, and these are all sort of the hard questions that I get asked weekly. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to say, phone Jeff Porter. I'm trying not to do that.
I appreciate that.
You run and cover here.
I don't know whether to throw Director Sully on this one or not.
You're a professional fireman here.
Yeah, Rick has really been carrying the ball with the directors on this one, and with his fire background, it really helps, and he's done a lot of work in this regard. So I guess
We look forward to your.
Through the chair to the floor.
Please.
So as Jeff alluded to, yeah, there's been quite a bit of work done on this. And looking at this, I guess we'll call it the issue that we have with water for firefighting. I think the best option we have out at the airport is a reservoir with the standpipe system. Went through all the calculations with that and figured we need about 136,000 gallons of water on site. To cover the NFPA standard for water for firefighting. I did find an old report from 2012. There was a review that was done in 2012 for water for firefighting, and there were some estimates in there. And the option of reservoir was in there as well. And back in 2012, there was an estimated cost of about 1.3 million to do that. Back in 2012 to put that water for firefighting in.
Are we just talking an earthen reservoir?
Yeah, just a
Dugout?
just a dugout with a standard. We have a pretty much standard system for standpiping when we ask for water for firefighting in.
Mhm.
So it's pretty simple. So we know how to build it.
Yeah.
What it should look like. We just needed to find out the size. So we have to make sure that we make enough room for freeze over for ice and stuff like that in the wintertime for winter operations. So we basically have what we need, like the size, what we need. We just need to find out the best location and the best option out there for keeping wildlife away, which we haven't found the best option for that yet. If anybody around the table might have
I have an idea.
Well, the Margot company should be able to help us out there. That's their specialty.
Waterloo Airport they either stole or devised an interesting system, Kitchener Waterloo. It's the stringing of ostensibly fishing line at about 1 foot spacing across, and birds do not go near that. They look and they say, "This is danger."
You cannot land there.
Yeah, it's an ultra cheap solution, and it works.
Okay,
That's
we were talking about that this morning.
Yeah.
Cables. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at.
3-pound test is best.
I can make a note of that.
I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Can I put your name beside that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. You're a professional witness.
So yeah, after all the work that's been done, we know how much water we need. We know what the best option is for the water out there, as opposed to putting pumps and stretching new water lines. The next again is the location. We were looking at that this morning as well, and keep the wildlife away. When like I said, we do have an estimated cost from 2012, so that'll have to be all reconfigured. So how that looks.
Location wise, it seems to me, I seem to remember a number from some course I took that 3 feet, 1 pound of head pressure. So up at the end, or at that commencement at runway 33 there, that's sort of the high ground on the lease. Would there be enough static pressure feeding a main standpipe?
Yeah, we wouldn't have any issues with that at all. I mean, we could put that, like Jeff and I were talking down here at the road race where this little box thing is there. Right there would probably give us the best access for the trucks as well. And I think there is a trickle line there as well. That could, if
It goes right by.
There's some
Yeah, it goes
pump
right
outs
by there. There's a
here
pump
that's
out.
access.
Trucks basically are self-loading, aren't they? They have pumps and
yeah, we
they
can
just
draw.
pull right, draw it right out of the
Yeah.
reservoir.
Well, that'd be handy then.
Yeah.
And then
So-
do like a loop around the pond, so it's just a circle for
Yeah.
the pond, so there's in and out. Rather than pulling in and backing out or trying to turn around.
Yeah.
Just go around it. That's kind of the idea.
So the one thing about the sizing of the pond and that, everything is sized to this hangar here, which is the
Biggest building.
it's the biggest building.
Oh, I see.
So that pond is sized to that. So in the future, no hangars could be built larger than that. Unless they
That's an
supply their own
interesting
fire
description.
water.
Yeah, so basically you go by, like Jeff was saying, you go by the largest building on site, then you go by exposures, so how many exposures are on that, and then construction type. So this would be construction type 3, which you look at any other hazard class as well. So it's all configured into the calculation of how much water you need on site. Yeah. Yeah.
And that county line going down to Katie runs right by there.
Right here in this ditch.
That'd be handy.
Because with ponds, especially ones that are not covered, you have to worry about evaporation.
Yes.
So if there was a little trickle line going there, you can always keep it. Green.
You anticipate this to be a lined pond?
Yeah,
Or
it
it'd have to be.
would have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you not do, like, does 2 feet of clay compacted to retain sufficiently, or?
Not sure about that. If they would
It's
work.
the thing is that the ground here is horrible and that you got a lot of alkali. So, yeah, I mean, these are questions for an engineer
Yeah.
to give us the options and the price
Okay.
options and that sort of thing. So
So we'd be talking, it wouldn't be talking a covered, it'd just be a fence around it to keep tall fence, keep the deer out of it, that sort of thing.
Depending on how large it is, we may have a white line structure that's being donated to us that could potentially be put over.
Oh, okay,
So,
fabric structure.
yeah, like our big salt shed up at the Alder side there. Yeah. So,
Another thing with these ponds too, when you put the ponds in, you gotta be careful with water tables as well, so depth could be an issue. So,
Yeah, it might fill by itself.
yeah,
That'd be the idea.
maybe push the water out of it if we put them in.
And it would all end up in Lionel's basement there.
Yeah,
So yeah, there's been, sorry, Rick.
no, go ahead.
There has been a lot of thought put into this and a lot of work put into this. So, as kind of with the county, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people just don't see, and that of moving forward with projects and that sort of stuff. So,
I mean, this would also could be considered a community, for community use community fires in and around the area would be a reservoir that could be accessed to fight a farm fire or grass fire or whatever, right?
No, that's right. We can use it as an alternative water source as well.
So then, I mean,
And the nice thing about having the water line going in to keep it topped up
Yeah.
is perfect. It's very.
so then, I mean, part of the cost could be allocated to the county. Wouldn't have to all be allocated to the airport.
well, depending on what happens.
The tone change depends.
No, depending on what happens, and that as far as the Part 9 company in touch with the airport, and that it would be either be shared or strictly county, right? So that's where, yeah, that line is kind of blurred right now.
Yeah.
Future considerations.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing to make sure that these aren't hard dates on anything past 2025. Now, the microsurfacing, we're not sure about, but we've looked into and got an actual quote on what it would cost to microsurface the runway and that sort of thing. So it's a potential possibility because we can fold it into other county funding and that we utilize.
Our calculation sheet.
And same with the fire water.
Yeah, okay,
But
good.
for sure, the runway lighting is happening this year. We've got to figure out the plow truck situation this year. Anything past that, those dates are liable to shift and change, but it gives us an idea from a 10-year perspective of what we're kind of looking at from a capital budgeting standpoint for the airport.
That's great, thank you. So in terms of the budget, if we're finished that discussion, are you looking for an approval of this draft budget, or is this we're receiving it for information today? What would you recommend?
I would recommend, based on the discussions today, we'll do an update on the changes. I've noted down some of the changes, and I will contact Jeff later for the capital ones, because currently, as you probably saw, all the capital projects were there, but we want to obviously specify only the 2025 ones. And then we'll bring that back to the board for the final approval.
So receive for information motion, Jeff, would you say?
Yeah.
All right. Look for a motion to that extent. Dennis gives us that. Any further questions or comments on the motion to receive for information? And thank you very much for it. That was fantastic. Appreciate it. Call a question. All in favor? I think the live is better. She's below on the screen, but thank you. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
We're a tough crowd, thank you.
I'm in favor, Mr. Chair, unless I say otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, that's what we assume, but you know what they say about assuming. Thank you. Airport.
Can I just be excused for a moment?
Yeah, let's take 5.
Where's the water?
Rick, is that all future construction?
Well, welcome back, everybody. We'll continue with Manager Porter's comments, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there was a question in regards when we're in budget deliberations there in regards to the taxiway alignment that would be proposed. And the taxiway alignment that we've looked at and I've went over with Public Works is you've got your main apron here, taxiway here, taxiway here. What we would do is we'd pick up on the alignment of this taxiway and we would run it parallel to the runway here. And then there'd be a crossing point where we come across in this kind of, you can see a bare outline of the subgrade that was put in before, and then bring us out to the warm-up area here on the end of 2.5. So that's the alignment and what we're looking at doing. And that, so I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
If I could lend or add, so there's been two ideas floated by me, and frankly, they make sense. If you are taxiing from the hangars and you're going for a departure on 2.5, you don't rightly care if you taxi down Alpha, make a hard right, and then taxi on a parallel taxiway following runway 25 the whole way, or if you make a right turn, go past High River Aeromotive on the existing taxiway, go north, and then nobody cares. The training organizations have said, well, we would like a parallel taxiway. I said, yes, but that is going to pile a whole lot of money onto this project. And that is for traffic that wishes to land, taxi clear, and then make the round trip back. So I think the cost of running a parallel taxiway the entire way is huge, and using the existing taxiway seems to be the most efficient thing. Have you any views, gentlemen?
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that parallel taxiway should go right from Alpha all the way to the end of 2.5. I think we're creating an awful lot of, we've got a small apron there to start with. And if we're going to have constant traffic taxiing around that apron stuff, it's going to create a lot of congestion. I think if we're going to do this, we should be doing it for future and do it right and do that parallel taxiway right through to Charlie, Alpha Charlie intersection.
You're talking here.
Yep. From there, it goes straight parallel out to the end of 2.5.
So
I mean, if we get another training school or something here, we're gonna have twice as many planes taxiing around there and stuff. It's, you know, like doing those jogs, that apron, all of a sudden, that small apron we've got, all of a sudden you got all kinds of traffic coming, going both ways there. And I think that's just gonna create a bottleneck and confusion.
So our thoughts are, when this is developed, this is the taxiway point through to here to tie into this.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're gonna have all this traffic here taxiing through.
Well, I don't disagree with extending the Delta taxiway. I mean, that's a good plan.
To here, you mean?
Yeah.
But you're talking about running right through to here.
I think that it all should be done.
So that causes some problems because in here we have, this is the
Low points.
windsock.
That's not the new location of the windsock, is it?
No.
Well, that one's gonna be moved.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they're both going on at the north side.
Right.
So what you've got is you've got a huge.
You got a lot of,
There's a low spot there.
it's low. I mean, you gotta do drainage and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you've got the big drainage ditch running.
Yeah.
Here. And that's so.
These are excellent comments, and we can, obviously, there's some discussion. In some of our residential developments, developers are required to pay for some of these things. Is that a subject, maybe a history lesson, Jeff, but, we have some air schools, etc. Is that a consideration that they if they're really, as Richard's saying, they're really looking to have this parallel, is there an opportunity to charge them some way, whether it's a levy or have them contribute a little bit more because it's a business requirement that they have or would like to have that feature?
As far as how the levies work, I'm not sure if you can charge commercial versus private differently. That'd be probably a question for our development department or taxation department. You can put a local improvement tax on, that would be on all the residents,
Yeah.
the sublease holders at the airport to help finance a portion or all of this.
If I may, in terms of priorities here, I would suggest that the best use of funding would be the parallel taxiway to its, optimal outcome over the 1533 improvements. I mean, when I look at 1533, the cost of paving that is just staggering.
Yeah.
Operationally, the use of that runway, because of the slope, it's actually very restricted.
Yeah.
The only people who really like it are the small tailwheel gang who's looking to avoid a crosswind at any expense, and who have prop clearances that don't put them in danger of damage. If we were to do anything to 1533, I would recommend grass and take whatever capital budget we had for that restoration and spend it on the parallel. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, our number one flight safety exposure is no parallel taxiway. That is our number one risk versus, sorry guy with that tailwheel, you can't go flying for an hour because the crosswind is out of your comfort zone. Every little airport around here, frankly, has one runway. And at one point or another, you are landing on a crosswind. That's just the reality of southern Alberta. So if 1533 would be restored, I'd say do it in soft. And because that gang would absolutely love that and say it's summer use only. Dennis, your thoughts, sir?
Well, I agree. I can't see any value in spending money on 1533.
Except in the most rudimentary sense. A turf.
Yeah. And for those guys that use it, you could probably just turf the north side it doesn't have to be 3,000 feet long. For the guys that are going to land on turf, 1,500 feet's plenty for them.
If I may, in all my time here watching, the only use I've seen of 1533 is south of the active.
Oh, yeah.
And
I guess there's not enough length on the north side.
Because down here, it's significantly downhill.
Yeah, right.
So, and they're most concerned about landing.
Yeah.
So they'll take off on 2.5, except the crosswind, but they quite like landing. So a restoration from here in turf.
Yeah.
And I realize this is a down track a little bit, guys, but
Good conversation. All right, Jeff, please continue.
sorry, Jeff.
No, that's fine. That's exactly kind of the conversation we're looking at for that, just to get some ideas. But yeah, basically in that it was to show you what the alignment, what we had looked at in regards to putting a taxiway down then.
Would going completely parallel, would that really add to the cost, like prohibitively?
It would definitely be more than that, but how much more, I'm not sure. And that we can definitely get it costed out, the two options, and see what we'd be looking at, and then also what that short stub option would be to bring it back to the south to line with that. Is it taxiway D?
Delta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Along the commercial hangars.
Yeah. Because that that connection would have to be made, especially for phase 2 development of their
Yeah.
airport. So,
But that,
Correct, yes.
but that could be phase 2,
Yeah.
part of phase 2.
All right,
thank you.
continue on. 8.2, Foothills Regional Airport signage.
Nice sign.
Hasn't been put up.
Little jocularity.
We unfortunately had staff that were injured, and that's the main individual that runs the picker truck for the county. So things are kind of on hold till that individual gets back, and we're able to take that the existing signs down, get them to a sign company, and try and figure out the design that we want to do. I mean, we know we want to change the name. It's just, do we want to stick with that aerial view of the airport? And if so, we have to get that picture again, and that, or get someone to take that picture again and be able to transpose it.
If that was a requirement, I could do that.
Okay. So that would be great.
If this Airshine guy wants to put up a sign there, what would be the procedure for that? Assuming we agreed to let him, does he provide his own sign, or does he provide
My suggestion, well,
what do we do with the guys that are up there now? We got Canada and we got Air Motive and stuff. Did they design their sign and then have submit it for production?
not sure if we should go into close for this or not.
I would, it's just you asking suggests we should go into close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we should go into closed
Good
for this item,
observations
I
there.
think.
okay, I'll take a motion to go into closed. Richard, all in favor? Motion carried. We can ask you to put us into closed session, please, Krista? Welcome back, everybody. We do have a motion coming out of our closed session that the board requests Foothills County to investigate a signage program for the Foothills Regional Airport. Look for a motion to approve that. Dennis, gives us that motion. Any further questions, comments? Ask for the vote. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. All right, that's it for item 8.2, I believe, Manager Porter. So we'll move on to item 8.3, the Great Southern Route Promoter request for financial support. And it looks like we have our Vice Chair, Richard Patay's name on that one.
Thank you. By virtue of someone giving that gentleman my contact information, I've had a few extended emails. So this is the proposal. A gentleman who lives in Winnipeg, he's affiliated with COPA, the Canadian Owner Pilots Association. I believe he's simply a member. He's an aircraft owner, and he has proposed what is basically a website to promote the travel east and west along what he has termed the Great Southern Route. And he's solicited airports along the way to participate in this. Here's the deal: in exchange for a membership fee of about $2,000, he will put your community and your community airport on the website. So I've taken a look at the website. It's fine. He tells me that he has approached Foothills, the community, and they had no interest in this whatsoever. So if this was to be undertaken, it would be by the airport. So,
Excuse me for a second. Was that High River that he approached, or
Yes.
Foothills?
High River.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
High River showed no interest in this. His promotional aspect was that look, this is how to build traffic to your airport and your community. The assumption is that the two are somehow linked and on friendly terms with mutual interests. So he's received a zero interest from Foothills, the municipality. And now he's coming to us to say, would you care to sponsor this? So I went to the website, and he has some interesting things on it. It's a brief overview of the community, what special things there are. Pragmatically, who it would benefit would be our fuel vendors and our maintenance shops. Would it benefit the airport outside of that? No. Would it benefit the town marginally, but they're not paying for it and have no interest in it? So I said that I would bring it up to our committee who decides on these things. And this information that I've gathered, this has been the result of probably 2 or perhaps 3 phone conversations that have gone on for about an hour. He's very keen. I mean, it's a nice idea. If we were simply tagging on to this, it would be a good idea, but there's a membership fee. So what are we going to get from it, and what does it cost? And that is the cost benefit analysis.
And you're saying the membership fee is around $3,000?
I remember it being a couple thousand. And I think he said I had hoped for a higher fee, but probably received very low interest in that.
Yeah, I reached out to him there, but I never got a response. My impression was I did attend a presentation that he did to the Foothills Flying Club a couple months back in the fall, when this whole thing when he was sort of promoting this whole idea. And at the time, I thought he was talking $750 or something, but I don't have any specifics on it. But still,
the rates have come down. But yeah,
but still, it's hard to, as the airport, I think it's a difficult one for us to justify. I'm not, I don't see it, the value there.
hard to measure whether it's positive.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you wanted to make this thing go, you'd have to go and talk to the places that are gonna benefit, and you got the hotels. Cause the idea is that, you fly into the airport, and then you go into the town, stay overnight, whatever, or stay for the weekend and see the sights, and it's really a tourism promotion is what it is.
Exactly.
So,
To me, it's a little premature, potentially down the road when there's, in another few years, and the county is also looking at an economic development advisor or an officer position. So there's lots of, so personally, I think it's a bit early. It doesn't say it's maybe, not for today. Some of the conversation that I have, and I don't see Delilah may have some comments, but I'd thrown a potential motion together for consideration that the report be received for information and that the request for financial support be approved or denied. So I'm wondering if there's does that seem to make sense, or any other comments to that?
May I add one?
Please.
There is a trend, a growing trend in the United States for literally Airbnbs at airports. So folks fly in, and someone has a hangar that has a facility to accommodate them. That would fit in extremely well with this, but we don't have that, and the town is not interested.
Yeah.
Most small airports will have a community vehicle.
yeah,
And we don't have that. So it normally is parked at a FBO. The manager gives you the keys, and you promise to bring the 68 Biscayne back, But we don't have that. So it's a nice idea, but I don't think it does anything for us.
So we're not quite there yet. So motion then would be that the report be received for information and that the request for financial support be denied. Anyone prepared to make that? Dennis makes that motion?
Yeah.
Any further comments or questions? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much.
now, if I could just carry on, Richard touched on the topic of the airport community courtesy car. And that I think that's step one that would, fit in well with this. And the big challenge of a courtesy car is to try and figure out how to solve the liability issue. And so my question is there any way that the county could provide liability on a non-owned vehicle or a vehicle? Because if we can solve the liability problem, we won't have any trouble funding a vehicle through advertising and so on.
Great question. What I'd recommend is that we put that on a future agenda
I actually had it.
Yeah.
I asked to put it on this agenda.
There was I guess we didn't have the information. So
Okay.
if you're okay, let's postpone it. We'll need to get some information because some work can get done in terms of getting, to ask that magic question about liability, for example.
That's the question. Is there any way that the county can provide liability on a vehicle? Because if we can solve that problem, then we can get a vehicle out there, without any cost to us, I'm sure.
I guess the whys and hows and everything would be interesting. So if you don't mind, we'll put that on our next agenda, please, Krista. And we can talk offline to get some information into our staff, and we'll put that on the agenda.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, airport manager discussion. You started, so we'll ask you to continue. 8.4.
Well, from my perspective, and we've touched on this already, that if you take away the operation side of the airport manager, would be in the grass mowing and the snowplow removal, then that job is considerably less challenging and a lot easier I think it'd be a lot easier to fill that position at a lot lower cost than what it's paying for now. So that's my comment.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I guess I would have a comment or a question to Manager Porter in terms of, I know we're in this transition phase, and so thoughts on proceeding? I mean, is that an offer you'd like to work for the rest of the year, or?
Well, I can't work in March. Gone.
Short of March,
I mean,
but,
yeah, March, April.
yeah,
But, I mean, if that, yeah, it's something that I would, consider, you know, on a longer term,
Yeah.
if it was just the management job
yeah.
and not the operations side of it.
Would you be able to put a little one pager together as to what you see the role and the job, not almost a job description?
Yeah, yeah.
What you see the airport manager doing, and again, we can chat about that, and that'll give us some time in terms of Foothills County dealing with this transition and legal and all the stuff that we know is all working behind the scenes, and
Yeah, I can do that.
so that'll be another agenda item. Assistant Conrad, please. Perfect. Thank you for that. The power pole anchor, did we touch a little bit on that earlier?
We did,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. I guess, like Mr. Fox had brought up in regards to the power pole anchor, it looks like because of the alkali in the ground, it looks like it was actually rusted right through, and so we did get a quote. Mr. Fox prepared a quote for the airport, and it was exorbitant at the least. $7,000 and some
Sounds
change, yeah, to replace a ground anchor. So that was a hard no.
Excuse me, is this the pole that is beside the south entrance into the airport, or?
No, this is on, Hurricane Way, which is the very north
Yeah.
east-west driveway. And it's right at the end of that. There's 3 poles in a row, and the last one was anchored, and the anchor's rusted off. So we're okay now to while the ground's frozen, you know,
So we actually, there's 4 poles here, Dennis?
3 or 4, I'm
3 or
not
4, yeah,
sure. How
along
many?
this alignment here.
Maybe there's 4.
And it's this pole here, you can see the shadow from it is the last
Yeah.
pole. And that guy wire comes down over here. And yeah, so right now, this, because of the frozen ground, there's no worry of it tipping, but when the ground thaws and the Chinook winds get blowing, then there could be a potential. So we did the tie down anchors, which is the same thing as the ground anchor for the power pole. We've got a machine and that will screw those into the ground. And then it's just a matter of unbraiding the cable, looping it through the loop and then rebraiding it. We may even not have to do that. There may be enough of a gap on the current anchors to be able to put that loop through. So that's kind of where that project stands right now. We do have some Jason Hangar owners that have complained about it multiple times and probably wondering what's taking so long. But I mean, there's only so much you can do in frozen ground. We weren't prepared to spend $2,000 on a hydrovac unit to come in and hydrovac. And then, you know, not sure what type of compaction we're going to get on that anchor after it's been hydrovac. So anyways, that's where that ground anchor stands. And like I did say, we do own these poles. So there's 1 shadow, 2 shadows, 3 shadows, 4 shadows, and that's the pole outside with the transformer. So the airport, with us actually owning those, and that at some point in time we're going to need to look at replacement of those poles as well. So that'll be a project in itself, a capital project.
Well, when that comes in, we just go underground with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably the best solution there. And that takes out the equation, just the underground cable cost.
Yeah.
Pretty penny. So, but that's is what I had for the power pole anchor update, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. You need a motion to accept it or just move on?
Just for information.
For information. Dennis or Richard gives us that motion, which Steve for information. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Updated action list. Anything that you'd like to share on this one, Jeff?
Just that it needs to be updated. that policy for transfer reserves and that, Mr. Hammond's working that. The paving assessment, was done and that, and what was recommended was the microsurfacing. So that's been completed.
May I ask one question on that, please, Jeff? I know that a conventional highway or roadway has, a way different end user than an axway. The crack repair that was done, I think last year or the year before, I know a lot of unhappy comments on that. If this resembles it in any way, I fear for, I may have to, enlist my unlisted phone number. And it's all a function of prop damage. Folks aren't really concerned about tires, but they're really worried about those $10,000 to $15,000 spinning helixes.
Yeah, understandable. But with stuff being let go as long as it was, we had no other choice because we were dealing with cracks that were 2 to 3 inches wide. There was no other way to get around it to be able to fill those. Our public works had went out there and poured sand down them to try and it was just like just taking bags and bags and bags of sand, and it just wasn't feasible. So their patching job that was done was what was most feasible with what they were dealing with and will last us the longest.
Would the refinishing this being proposed as a life extension, would it approximate the same thing as the crack repair, but on a mass scale? Then, like, would it be the hundreds of millions of little shards of something?
It is going to be some sort of a chip or round, like I said, Dunbow Road. It had it done to it. To go and look at Dunbow Road would give you an idea what the surfaces look like, what the materials are like.
If I may, I think one of the positives of doing that sort of repair on a county road is that vehicle traffic actually helps it. It compacts it, and it makes it more like a super hard cold roll, as it used to be called. But I just fear that, I just fear that this may be a suboptimal solution, possibly worse than what we have now. All I can comment on is the crack repairs and how unpopular those were.
Yeah. There's 2 different things going on. They're 2 different processes. So there's not really similarity other than there is some aggregate used. The size of that aggregate, I'm not sure. I can talk to the contractor and ask to go on tour where they'll be doing microsurfacing this spring, and take an actual look at the process and what's left over, how much loose material, and that would be a better judge of it. From what I've been told, it's nothing like the air patch that was done there.
If you could lend your expert assessment to it, that would really.
Yeah, I'll go with our public works and that deputy director of public works and take a look at the process and such. So
That'd be helpful. Dennis, you had a question?
Well, I think that delaying this major resurfacing for 8 or 10 years is maybe the wrong angle to go on this. There's been numerous small airports resurfaced in the last 4 or 5 years. The province has supplied a lot of money, and I think we should get in line and get this runway resurfaced as soon as possible. After running the plow truck over there's some pretty big gaps out there, and especially on that the main part of the runway, but that extension to the west, boy, that's in bad shape. That's got cracks and stuff in it, and
So I don't think that was particularly engineered at the time.
yeah, that one's
Put down.
the rest of it is it's got big cracks and stuff like that, but that west end it's rough.
Good observation. Go ahead.
So with that, if you were to bring a paving company in, they need to do all the work. They deem that west subgrade is not acceptable. They would have to be dug out, rebuilt and done because they will not warranty their pavement. And that's with substandard subgrade. So when we do paving, we actually have the contractors do the subgrade. Otherwise, they won't warranty it. So, and you're talking a big ticket item. I understand, yeah, like Drumhellers and that have had their runways paved. I mean, when you looked at our capital item list there, we've got quite a few things that
May I make an observation on the Drumheller resurfacing? I landed there a few months before they started that project. A piece of that of the pavement came out, and it went through my left landing gear fairing, and that had the word thousands to be repaired. So I'm just afraid someone's going to frag themselves on our runways and then turn to the airport and say that this is your fault. Dennis makes a good point, I think.
All right, we'll continue on and.
Okay. Review of lot prices, planning on future lots, that's ongoing.
And we kind of heard some of that today, and I would say the equipment storage in terms of your comments about the capital plan, etc. So those are both kind of ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in regards to the signage, we discussed that today. Noise abatement, that's completed. We actually got a call from the landowner had some issue, one of the landowners, and appreciated the adjustment to the pattern and such, and it's making a huge difference in their quality of life, so that's good.
Is that posted in the CFS? Guess I should check and have a look, but is there anything to do there in anything in the CFS regarding that?
So if I could, Mr. Chair, this is just a little bit of a lengthy conversation. At our fall open house this past fall, the Transport Canada representative to Canat Aviation was invited to attend. And this resulted in some pretty animated discussion about traffic patterns and safety. And that caused Transport Canada to initiate a contact with NAV Canada to see if we should actually spell out an official pattern that is not specified in the CFS. I'd be secretly hoping that nothing happens in that regard. And I said, well, we're standing by for your contact. So we haven't received that yet, but there is potential for that to modify our circuit.
And I mean, any idea what the modification is going to be? I mean, is it just like do a 5-degree turn when safe, something simple like that, or
what? This somewhat intense discussion came out of one of our hangar owners making an observation about one event that had been seen at another airport and then linking it to what was surely going to happen at our airport. And of course, Transport Canada understandably stands up and says, well, we will assist, but this will require NAV Canada because it would require modification to the CFS and a non-standard traffic pattern. None of that has happened yet. So I haven't been contacted. I will respond and report to the board if that happens. But officially changing a traffic pattern simply for noise abatement, that's actually hard to do.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah. But and the response is quite simple. You live near an airport. So Cookie Lake is an example. It took the petitions of that whole community to say, this is not an overfly prohibited zone, just please don't overfly this. So it's not even a formal restriction, it's just a request.
Hmm.
So we would have that ability in the simplest way to say, you know, in the CFS, we could say, here are noise sensitive areas, please avoid them.
Yeah,
But we can't prohibit it,
right.
if that makes sense.
So then, I mean, we're waiting on NAV Canada
Yes,
to think about it and,
amen to that, because glaciers move
Yeah.
rapidly,
right, so we won't see any action there for a while.
if at all.
Yeah, okay. So in the meantime, I mean, the landowner has, indicated it's improved the situation.
Yeah, I think the one complaint was regarding the flight school and the consistent pattern. I think they just extended out how far they go out before they make
All right.
the first left hand. And
So that was kind of a,
yeah,
voluntary.
Is that the landowner to the east of the airport in the ravine?
no, this is to the west.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you.
Oil changes and grass parking area. That's completed?
I don't know, what's, I think we decided that it wasn't an acceptable, I don't know. I don't know who asked the question and I've had nothing to do with it. I mean, are we supposed to let somebody know or what?
Well, I remember some emails going back and forth and I thought we'd said, yeah, and didn't we?
It
at a
came, it was
previous
at the
meeting?
board, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
said
we
not allowed.
decided that it wasn't allowed. Now, I don't know whether it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Presumably that was, decision was sent back to whoever was.
We'll just have to email out to everybody. And that,
Okay, yeah.
since we're probably coming up on that
And some of those,
season of grass growth.
Yeah.
and some of those parking spaces, gentlemen, and lady, will be modified with the placement of the taxiway lights.
The current stalls will
Potentially.
stay the same,
Oh, really? Okay.
and all we'll do is adjust where the lights are. So there's nothing that says they have to be a certain distance apart on there. It's if we come into conflict where one's dead center or something, we'll move it left or right to be able to accommodate to leave those parking stalls, because otherwise then we lose revenue by reducing the number of parking stalls or having to adjust everything.
Oh, well, that's a better solution.
Yeah, so we can move the lights. I talked with the engineers about that. We'll just move the lights accordingly. They'll go out and mark where they're supposed to go. We'll look if there's any conflicts, and if there isn't, then we'll just.
Quickly, on a vaguely related topic, I confirmed with the engineering firm that the spacing on the runway lights is consistent with Transport Canada standards for crews to then estimate to visibility based on a known spacing. So that's compliant.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get to email out to tenants for regarding the oil. We replaced the windstock. Airport marketing plan is ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
Parallel taxiway, we've been investigating that. Road maintenance, it's ongoing. And transient ramp parking, we dealt with that at other board meetings, so
Yeah, so
it's complete.
Anything to add to this list?
It's a big one.
Nothing right now.
Nothing right now.
Regarding the transient parking and stuff like that, should we have some signage indicating where they can park and what this is, indicating 72-hour free parking and so much after that? I mean, otherwise, or is that just up to the manager to monitor that and
I almost wonder on the apron there, like over where the airplane burned up this summer, if we paint some stalls there and just put transient parking 72 hours,
yeah,
just paint it on the tarmac and yellow.
I think that'd be a good idea, yeah, to
That's the
mark out
cheapest.
some.
Yeah.
Another issue regarding the Foothills Flight Center hangar, Andy Hamill's hangar, they're the big one. beside the terminal. You know, there's a lot of space there that we can't really park anything on because it's in front of his door, and yet he tells me that I'm supposed to plow this, that he only has to plow the snow away 5 feet in hanger, and then and the rest of it's the airport's responsibility or something. Is that, what's the official square footage that he's paying for there? And so on. Is there anything, is there an official area that is his versus ours sort of thing?
Yeah.
And does it need to be modified if we can't make use of it for transient parking and so on?
And this is ballpark property line, but you can see where the actual property line is there. To get this confirmed, we would have to get it surveyed. So he's paying for the footprint of his.
Right.
It appears by this that a portion of that is outside of the actual property line.
Well, and what about the fuel tank there?
That's the
area.
actual.
Does he pay a fee for that?
There's a sublease that's an actual
Right.
lot on the property, no different than
Yeah.
the one for
Right.
Murray's Aircraft.
Okay.
They're within their lot.
Yeah.
This is not within their lot.
Okay.
So there's some issues there as well.
Will there's been some major complaints about your parking in my space?
There is no designated space
Yeah.
there.
What's
He doesn't know that.
So what's the black line there on the fuel tanks? Like,
That's a property line. That's an actual surveyed out lot. And not,
and is he paying for the hatched area there that's all marked out?
no.
No?
But he believes that is his to control.
No.
Because I had
Yeah.
him lectured up.
So maybe
about stopping.
maybe we need to, I think we need to revisit some of these areas and maybe.
Yeah.
Get them updated, eh?
Yeah, Mr. Hamill, you can't reach him by email. We have the correct email. He can send on us email on his email. But it doesn't receive on the other end, so whether
We
it's
always phone
blocked or
him.
whatever, we have
I
to,
just phone him up, talk to him.
yeah, we have to have that discussion and that,
Well, I would propose that hatched area be continued to the east and right out to the corner of his big hangar, because we can't make use of any of that. You know, it's no different than Murray's Aircraft. They've got a big area out in front of theirs that they park airplanes on that is in,
yeah, that's
Right.
their property.
yeah.
Yeah, within their
I
property.
mean, his should be about the same way because he's got a commercial hangar there.
So yeah, I guess that's probably a conversation for closed when we start getting into individuals and stuff and that, but that's just gives you an idea as far as property boundaries, and these of course are fairly accurate. The only way to go out, I do know there's pins in the ground here and that for this.
It's an odd shape, isn't it?
I think, well, I don't know, but I don't think that this power source is supposed to be here. I think it's supposed to probably be over here or something.
Yeah.
The actual place where it should be is right here.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Could that be transient lots?
could be.
Because
There's also here, like, these are not on Mr. Hamill's lots. These are not Mr. Hamill's stalls. These are Foothills Regional Airport. So, there could be stalls here.
Yeah.
We'd have to allow a setback here for him to transit aircraft here, but, same thing. These could be painted out in lots. You can kind of see some painting that had been done previously.
the if I could, that area by the Twin, that's used by, I would say, a lot of people as a run-up area, as opposed to going down to the end of runway 07. There's a few fairly large airplanes now that are doing run-ups down there, blasting crap onto the county road. And that's not a good idea. So I would caution us against converting that area excessively into transient parking and use it as a run-up area. Could you zoom out, please, Jeff, to see runway 7 threshold? Right, so we now have a fairly good-sized turboprop that spits out the better part of 1,000 horse. That's doing run-ups at the end of Charlie, blasting those airplanes, and when it turns, also the vehicular traffic.
So he's at the whole short line here doing run-ups?
Yeah, or with his tail end pointed at one of the two roadways, the county road, 104th, I think that is.
Yeah.
And also the airport access, and that's not really designed as a run-up area.
Right.
So we should probably restrict run-ups to that large pad, but that's sort of common for everybody. And then plan our transient parking around that, possibly to use some of that scout area, which is not associated with the fuel cell sublease. Just an operational consideration.
Operationally, how do we make that happen?
Well, I
Send a
guess,
notification to the no more run-ups at the hold area?
I'd look to, and that the pilots in the room for suggestions on where you put that signage, and I mean, obviously, and that it's been said should be the run-up area, and then we'd have to get like no run-ups, or because if you have people that are not from our airport.
Our problem is we have people from our airport who are doing it.
Don't.
The advantage of that as a run-up area is it's completely neutral.
Right.
And using the bay at the threshold of 2.5, that is completely great, because a lot of people will taxi down there and use that taxi as a chance to warm their engines. So that's great. But doing run-ups in that corner, that's not a good idea.
In here.
Yeah. And that's happening, so.
Yeah, our whole problem there is we just don't have enough apron space. You know, and I've suggested previously that in our consideration of the parallel taxiway, if we go from the intersection of Charlie and go straight east, Charlie Alpha straight east, then maybe Charlie Alpha, we come straight south and widen that whole area and create that whole area there becomes more of an apron area for future, in the scope of future development. Because we are pretty short of area to park airplanes and not do all that.
All right.
That's all for the future.
Well, it's going, oh God, more.
We have,
No, it's you guys bring a different perspective from an operational standpoint to the table, and that's the beauty of being able to have you here. Is we can look at a picture and kind of from a practical standpoint look at it and see how this should work. But then operationally, you guys know how things work around the airport and who does what where and that sort of thing, traffic patterns, that sort of stuff, clearances. That's knowledge that we don't have.
The flying school is so sensitive about the consequences of blasting. They say, no, run-up shall be done in that area or at the hold point on 2.5. And students are prohibited from doing them anywhere else, strictly because of the effects of blast.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, if we're gonna, then we're really short of transient parking area. If that becomes the accepted run-up area, like our main apron there now.
I would go so far as to say that should even be labeled run up area.
Yeah. But then where do we park? We've got, I can see two spots to park. Right now. If this becomes our run-up area here, we've got one spot there we can call transient parking. And we've got another one. We can fit one right in there. And that's about it.
We do have this.
Other than
here.
we've got these three area here, but they're kind of always used up by the flying club aircraft or the flight school aircraft. Yeah, we got one there. If we take the plow truck off of there, there's a spot there. So that would give us 3 transient parking areas, which is for the most part, for overnight parking, that's probably adequate most of the time.
That would be ample.
Very good.
So we could get some paint and designate those areas, I guess. Come up with a plan.
What would probably be the best option would just be signage.
I think, yeah, if you painted the actual pavement and then we got little signs.
Just shows aircraft
designated.
parking.
Yeah, and then a run up. Well, I don't know how long the run up sign would stand at the back of that area.
It would blow away.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could send in an amendment with the agreement of these wise board members to NAV Canada to include in the CFS a comment of no run-ups on the taxiway short of 07 Charlie.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah, in case it does damage either to a passing vehicle or these aircraft that are parked here. And that it puts us in a position of, you don't have anything there. Whereas if we did have something there, then
We could put a sign there too. If we're gonna designate a run-up area, let's designate a no run-up area as also.
Yes, yeah.
Jeff, do we need a motion to accept Richard's offer? Or is he can just do that?
I think we've got to wait till warm weather when we can institute everything. And at that point in time, another board meeting, we would have.
I could issue in the interim a NOTAM. Just restricting in the same way I've extended the light NOTAM and the noise NOTAM. I could issue a NOTAM saying no run-ups in the area holding short runway 07 off taxiway Charlie.
That would get us
Okay.
to where we need to be right now. And
Okay.
yeah.
So a motion would be then for Richard, our vice chair, to issue a NOTAM, a no run-up NOTAM at the earliest convenience. Something to that effect. Does that make sense? You okay with that, Krista? And we can chat offline?
Yes, that sounds good.
Okay, perfect. Look for a motion as discussed.
Can I motion myself, sir?
Maybe
I'll do it.
Dennis will do it. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor? Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, for that offer. Motion carries. All right. Unless there's anything else for the good of the cause, not seeing anything in the next number of items. Our next meeting date is March 13th. And being no other items on the agenda, I declare the meeting adjourned at 3:16. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.